I was a junior heiress of the Sterling family in Riverton, a name synonymous with old money and impeccable taste. At 15, my parents sent me to live in the quiet, dusty town of Harmony Creek, hoping the clean air would mend my fragile health. That's when I first saw him, a flash of untamed spirit in the mundane. Being a Sterling meant being delicate, almost ethereal. A slight chill, a sprinkle of rain, and I'd be bedridden for a week. During those endless days of recovery, my Aunt Carol would sit by my side, gently stroking my hair, a mournful sigh escaping her lips. "Such a good girl, yet so cursed with illness," she'd murmur. But I never felt cursed. My ailments, I secretly believed, were merely the universe's way of reminding me that my life was far too smooth. The Sterlings were one of the wealthiest families in Riverton. Even in the 21st century, I was still referred to as the young miss. I grew up in a cocoon of love. My older brother, James, and my sister, Olivia, doted on me. After my biological mother passed when I was 2, my father and Aunt Carol showered me with affection, raising me in a world of silk and privilege. My childhood was a gilded cage, untouched by hardship. With my looks, grades, and family background, I was always at the top of the social hierarchy at school, the undisputed center of attention. When I turned 15, Aunt Carol took me to see a renowned spiritual advisor in Willow Creek. He spoke of detaching from the chaotic city, of finding inner peace in the quiet of nature. It resonated with me, and I impulsively asked to move to a rural town for my health. Initially, my family vehemently opposed it, but they never could resist my stubbornness. They had always indulged my every whim. So, I was sent to a small town just outside Riverton. My first encounter with Jackson Riley was on a soft, misty rain day. I was leisurely strolling down a quiet street near Northwood High. The school bell had long since rung, and the streets were practically deserted. The light drizzle kissed the back of my neck, yet my heart felt unburdened, light. Then, a figure suddenly vaulted over a brick wall right in front of me. I didn't feel fear, only a strange, undeniable tremor. He stumbled slightly, then steadied himself, stopping barely a foot away. I could clearly see his thick lashes and the rebellious tilt of his eyebrows. When our eyes met, we both froze for a fleeting moment. He offered a carefree smile and a quick apology, not a hint of embarrassment in his eyes. He was wearing the baggy uniform of Northwood High, his face bright, his smile easy. The rain-slicked strands of hair only added to his wild, free-spirited charm. Before I could even murmur, "It's fine," he was gone, a blur of youthful energy, leaving behind only a vivid impression. That brief first meeting felt almost unreal, yet it etched itself deeply into my memory. I fell for Jackson Riley the very first day I stepped foot into Northwood High. It wasn't hard to find information about him. Soon after starting school, I overheard girls in my class saying his name was Jackson Riley, and he was the heartthrob of 10th grade. Contrary to my expectations, he wasn't a troublemaker or a slacker. In fact, he was one of the top students in his grade, acing math and science. That day he scaled the wall, it was just to visit his sick girlfriend. Jackson had a girlfriend he adored, Willow Hayes, whose name perfectly suited her. Gentle, soft-spoken, and as mild as a spring breeze. I saw her once on the athletic field. Jackson was playing basketball with his friends when a petite girl, pushed forward by her friends, offered him a bottle of water. The teenage boys around them erupted in teasing laughter. Jackson, rarely shy, took the water bottle, unable to hide the small smile playing on his lips. At that moment, I couldn't quite name the feeling swirling inside me. It felt like accidentally biting into a sour, unripe orange, a mix of bitterness and tartness. Half a semester passed, and the only connection between Jackson and me was the school's honor roll. First place, Serena Sterling. Second place, Jackson Riley. Perhaps one day he'd notice the girl who always stole his top spot, and just being acknowledged by him would be enough to make my heart soar. But maintaining that top position wasn't easy for me. Even in this small town, the exams and academic intensity were surprisingly challenging. Aunt Carol and my siblings weren't entirely supportive of my rigorous study habits, so I always downplayed it during our video calls. "Sweetheart, are you eating and sleeping enough?" "Whatever you want, sis, just ask. I'll send it right over." "If you're not happy, Come back. Anything goes wrong, Uncle Bob can handle it. We've got your back. Come on, don't worry about me. I'd reassure them, a faint smile on my lips. The spiritual advisor's words weren't wrong. Since coming here, my health had vastly improved. It wasn't a lie. I hadn't had a single cold or fever since arriving in Harmony Creek. Last time I got caught in the rain, I was perfectly fine. I also enjoyed the rhythm of life here. From north to south, the town took less than an hour to cross. The only commercial street was bustling with northward students. I ran into Jackson twice by chance at Swan Square on the main street. The first time, he was leaning against a scooter, an almost melted ice cream cone in his hand, laughing with his friends. The melting ice cream told me he was waiting for someone. The second time was in a narrow alley near the square. He was cornered against a wall by a group of tough-looking men. There was already a bruise on his face, but his eyes held an unyielding defiance, showing no fear of the tattooed man's threats. His chin was slightly raised, revealing an arrogant, untamed streak. Just as the man raised his knee to kick, I signaled my bodyguard to intervene. The scruffy thugs were, of course, no match for a trained professional. A few stern words and they scattered. I stood at the mouth of the alley, watching Jackson slide weakly down the wall, his head bowed, his dark eyes fixed on me, complex and unreadable. His throat was dry as he choked out, "Thanks." My own emotions were just as complex. The corner of my mouth twitched, unable to form a coherent thought. My heart felt stretched taut, then as if gnawed by ants, an unbearable itch. I even wanted to tell him, "I can protect you. I won't let anyone hurt you again." But I couldn't. Everyone at Northwood knew Willow Hayes had a foster brother involved in shady business, a good-for-nothing gambling addict. And Jackson wasn't the type to cause trouble. This beating, the reason was clear to everyone. I stiffly turned to leave, afraid I'd betray my emotions, but then he called out, "Are you a Northwood student too?" Yeah. I'm Serena Sterling, Class 10 halves." I selfishly wanted him to remember me, not just a name on an honor roll. As I rounded the corner, I instinctively looked back. He was still standing there, his gaze thoughtful, fixed in my direction. My heart began to pound. Did I look familiar to him? Did he realize I was the girl who had taken his top spot on the honor roll? I was clearly overthinking it. 2 weeks later, at a friend's birthday party, I saw him again, still that vibrant, youthful spirit. The unfamiliarity in his eyes as he looked at me twisted my heart. All my joy and anticipation were instantly doused with a bucket of cold water. "Serena, you made it. So glad you could come." "It's all thanks to me." I begged her for a week, and my goddess finally agreed. Tina, my friend, thumped her chest proudly, then pulled me into the crowd. I forced a smile and greeted everyone, my eyes darting to Jackson, who was sitting on the sofa, laughing and joking with the girl beside him, pulling her closer, a hand resting on the back of the sofa, respectful but not overstepping. I quickly melted into the party, laughing and chatting with everyone, but aside from that initial unfamiliar glance, Jackson never looked at me again. Yet, I couldn't stop myself from liking him. At the end-of-year festival in 11th grade, I mesmerized Northwood High with a traditional fan dance. From then on, everyone knew Serena Sterling wasn't just smart, but also multi-talented. A bitter taste filled my mouth. Who knew I never liked to show off? That dazzling performance, a public display of peacock feathers, was only to catch his eye. Unfortunately, the meticulously prepared party's main guest left midway. That's when I learned he and Willow Hayes were arguing. On the honor roll, Jackson's name had slipped, no longer right behind mine. I don't know where the rumor that I liked Jackson started. While I was still in a tangled mess, unsure whether to hide or deny it, he approached me. His eyes weren't as sparkling as they used to be, but the sun still favored the sharp angles of his face, making every feature more defined. It was as if he walked through my youth, leaving a lasting impression. I couldn't refuse Jackson's initiative. From then on, I started playing basketball with him, eating meals, and studying. Even though I knew his gaze often drifted when he was with me, his mind not truly present, I didn't care. I was like an outsider, silently watching the light of hope in his eyes slowly extinguish, turning into cold disappointment. One day, he suddenly asked me, "You're the one always at the top of the honor roll, right?" I smiled faintly, just figuring that out now. "Well, you're about to lose your spot." His half-joking, half-serious remark surprised me, and I saw a glimpse of the brilliant boy he once was. Those were the happiest days of my time in Harmony Creek. Even though most of our time was spent studying together in the library, just watching him in the midday sun was enough to satisfy me. His friends teased me, calling me sister-in-law. I didn't respond, but he unexpectedly snapped, "Don't just call her anything." My heart lurched. I was afraid I couldn't hide the disappointment in my eyes, and I just wanted to run away. From that day on, I used the excuse of poor health to decline his invitations to study together. Until the next exam, when he reclaimed his desired first place. I wasn't surprised, I was even happy for him. When we ran into each other by the announcement board, he called out to me, "Serena Sterling, you're not mad that I got first place back, are you?" "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are. Your face is all scrunched up." I finally couldn't help but relax my brows. Before I could finish, a hand unexpectedly landed on my shoulder. "Come on, let me treat you to a meal to make up for it." Harmony Creek's night market was as bustling as the town itself. Today, with semester exams over and no evening classes, the streets were even more crowded. Jackson and I strolled along, chatting about trivial things. "You're from Riverton, aren't you? No wonder you have that graceful southern charm. I kept thinking you looked familiar. Your English is really good. I watched your debate last time." Mostly he talked, and I stood beside him, awkward and unsure how to respond. We arrived at a barbecue spot on the pedestrian street. The place was packed, and the atmosphere was lively. But midway through, he received a call and rushed off. That hurried, frantic departure told me exactly who he was leaving for. My heart slowly sank to the bottom. I subtly pulled the corners of my mouth into a self-deprecating smile, not wanting to waste the food. I forced myself to eat the entire plate of grilled meat until I was uncomfortably full, almost nauseous. Willow Hayes had sought me out once. Such a sweet, fragile girl. When she saw me, her eyes were filled with self-consciousness and fear, yet she tried to appear strong, glaring at me with a warning. "What's between Jackson and me is our business. Please, Serena, don't interfere." I scoffed, but couldn't say a word, as if a single peep from me would make the girl in front of me burst into tears. So, that's the kind of person he liked. I said nothing that day, but I heard Willow cried all night and didn't come to school for 2 days afterward. What did that have to do with me? Until Jackson, eyes red-rimmed, blocked me in the hallway, I was still stunned. "What did you say to her?" His eyes, filled with undisguised suspicion and sarcasm, felt like knives piercing my heart. I pressed my lips together, ultimately saying nothing. Students passing by wore curious expressions, and whispers filled the air. She used underhanded tactics to steal Willow's boyfriend. I swear that was the most humiliating day of my life. The image of the boy who once jumped from a wall, who dominated the basketball court, who was once heartbroken by love, and who was now as cold as ice, it all flashed through my mind. "Jackson Riley, I hate you." I forced myself to say those words calmly, pushed him away forcefully, and walked into class with my head held high. I had to go back to Riverton. I'd been here for almost 2 years. Finally, it was time to return for college entrance exams. Everything that happened in Harmony Creek felt like an illusory dream. If I hadn't unexpectedly met him again, I would have almost forgotten that a silent, unrequited love had once existed in my youth. Years passed without seeing him. He had shed all his youthful edges, becoming a mature, tall man. But I recognized him almost instantly. The hum of an engine filled the air. Jackson emerged from under the car, wiping sweat from his forehead with his hand, his face smeared with black grease, looking a little funny. "The engine's fine, just a loose connection." "Thanks, buddy." "No problem, I fixed it temporarily. The next town isn't far, you should still get a professional mechanic to check it out." My friend, Chloe, who was with me, excitedly dug her nails into my arm, whispering, "Help me, he's so hot." The way he wiped his sweat, his swoon-worthy. I looked up at the man, over 6 feet tall, wearing a simple black windbreaker. His hair was short, his features sharper than before. The dirt on his face didn't diminish his striking good looks. To be fair, time hadn't faded his charm at all. Instead, it had given him an alluring, mature aura. Chloe shyly rubbed her hands, took a bottle of water and tissues from my hand, and walked towards Jackson. "Hey, handsome, here's something to wipe your face." "Thanks." He took them, his gaze briefly sweeping over me, seemingly unintentional, or perhaps deliberate. He probably didn't recognize me. I curved my lips into a faint, self-deprecating smile. Indeed, every time we met, he never recognized me. But it didn't matter. The Serena Sterling of 22 would no longer be entangled with Jackson Riley. Roses have thorns, and perfumes can be toxic. He was initially traveling alone, but everyone persuaded him to join our road trip convoy. His broken-down car managed to go another 30 miles before he called for a tow. The extra people, of course, piled into Jackson's car. Chloe not only climbed into his car without hesitation but also dragged me along. I pushed back and refused several times, but the other cars had already started their engines, so I had no choice but to accept my fate and get in. Don't let Chloe's usual boisterousness fool you. She turns into a docile kitten around handsome men. The man in the driver's seat focused on the road, not saying a word. The atmosphere in the car was unusually quiet. After a while, Chloe stammered, "So, handsome, where are you from?" "Harmony Creek, Northwood." "Northwood. Must be beautiful there, huh?" "Yeah." His cool demeanor made me feel awkward for Chloe, but she was persistent. After a few seconds of silence, she asked the crucial question. "Handsome, do you have a girlfriend?" I wanted to know the answer to that too. After all these years, I wondered what had happened between him and Willow Hayes. Jackson casually glanced in the rearview mirror and slowly replied, "Not anymore." Outside the window, the golden desert landscape interspersed with green trees flashed by like a painting. In the confined car, the man's deep voice resonated like a mountain stream in the young girl's heart. Chloe was a lovely girl, with a pretty face, a clear personality, and clear likes and dislikes. At that moment, she excitedly tugged at my sleeve, her infatuated gaze almost spilling from her face. I chuckled softly. They actually made a good match. As dusk fell, everyone found a guest house in a nearby town for the night. Though not as luxurious as a hotel, it was clean and tidy. That evening, I pulled a chair out into the yard, sitting under a starry sky over 6,500 feet above sea level. The stars seemed brighter than usual. The Milky Way shimmered, and the constellations glowed. I loved looking up at the night sky, letting the cool night wind caress my cheeks. That was the taste of freedom. Suddenly, someone sat down beside me, still awake. I was surprised that Jackson had come to talk to me, but I maintained a calm exterior. Not sleepy yet. The gentle breeze from earlier suddenly felt suffocating. I no longer felt like staying and stood up to leave. "Serena Sterling," he called out, surprising me. I froze. He remembered me. But my feet didn't stop. I continued walking into my room. That night, fragmented memories of Harmony Creek flooded my dreams. His youthful face, his radiant smile, all eventually transformed into the look of disdain he'd given me in the hallway that year. I still couldn't let go of the malicious assumptions I had once endured. So, throughout the journey, even when Jackson tried to strike up a conversation, I always gently avoided him. But that didn't diminish his allure in the slightest. There were quite a few older people in our group, yet no one knew the way as well as he did. He was a man of few words but handled things efficiently, without ostentation, yet sharply. I had no doubt. If this had been my first encounter with Jackson Riley, I would surely have been as captivated by him as Chloe was. After we pass the old town of Tranquility, I'll be leaving the group. Hearing that, I breathed a sigh of relief, but the others were disappointed. They tried to keep him with us. "Don't go, buddy, where are you heading?" Leo, a junior 2 years below me, had been hovering around Jackson for days, clearly admiring him. "I volunteered to teach here a few years ago. This time I'm just stopping by to visit the kids." The man's firm face softened into a gentle smile, merging with the vibrant afternoon sun, brightening his features. My heart stirred. Volunteering to teach was something I had yearned for throughout my 4 years of college, applying many times, but always being stopped by my family. And Jackson had effortlessly achieved what I couldn't. Before leaving, Chloe asked for Jackson's contact information. He hesitated for a moment, then rattled off a number. I watched her the next day, who had been happily clinging to her phone, waiting for messages, now deflated like a burst balloon, her face drawn. "What's wrong, sis?" He turned me down. Boo-hoo. I was both surprised and a little bitter. Perhaps if I had confessed that year, the outcome would have been no different. For the next few days, we continued our journey, exploring as we went. The higher we went, the greater the altitude. I started to feel chest tightness and shortness of breath. Around 9,800 feet above sea level, dizziness and nausea began to set in. Though I hated to miss the beautiful scenery ahead, I was forced to stop, return to a suitable altitude to rest, and wait for the others to return. Staying with me were a friend who was also a bit delicate, her boyfriend, and a senior named Ethan Hayes. Ethan was a physics graduate student, a charming and witty guy. Throughout the trip, he had taken excellent care of me. We stayed in a small town with unique scenery. Transportation wasn't well developed here. The elderly and children spoke a local dialect we couldn't understand. But luckily, the infrastructure was quite complete. Our lodging was a traditional Tibetan house, and the host was very kind. On the first day, he took us around the area, introducing us to nearby attractions. That day, the 4 of us returned from the attractions after 8 p.m., utterly exhausted. I didn't feel hungry, so I went to bed early. As soon as I lay down, a familiar ache spread through my body, a sore back, aching legs, and a dull ache in my abdomen. A few seconds later, the familiar liquid flowed out. Oh no, my period came early, and I didn't pack anything. I hesitated, then walked to the room opposite, intending to borrow some supplies from my female friend. Just as I was about to knock, faint sounds emanated from inside. I immediately pulled my hand back, my face flushing, and ran back to my room. It seemed I'd have to make a trip to the supermarket myself. I had asked the host earlier about the supermarket's location. It was about a 10-minute walk away. But as soon as I stepped out, I regretted it. The houses here were built separately, quite far apart, especially at night. All 4 sides were desolate and pitch black, not a soul in sight. I followed the direction I'd been given that morning, but the further I walked, the stranger it felt, and an unnamed fear began to rise within me. I clutched my phone tightly, about to call someone, when suddenly a swaying figure appeared in front of me. It was a limping middle-aged man, muttering something in a local dialect I didn't understand as he approached me. The less I understood, the more terrified I became. Not daring to risk it, I suppressed the tremor in my legs, turned around, and ran. I don't know how long I ran, only that my ankle stung. I screamed and fell to my knees, inspecting it. It was torn open by a branch. Footsteps echoed behind me. Every hair on my body stood on end, my breath hitched. Serena Sterling. A familiar voice pulled me from despair. I stiffened and turned around, seeing a tall figure under the streetlights. All my fear vanished, replaced by a surge of vexation that welled up in my eyes. Is that really you? What's wrong? The man, usually so composed, was now a little flustered. My eyes red-rimmed, I silently looked at him. Suddenly, my body felt weightless. A strong pair of hands lifted me off the ground. He placed me on a stone bench in a nearby shelter. Only then could I tell him the whole story. He looked down at my bleeding ankle, frowning. Sit here and wait. I'll go buy some medicine. I instinctively clutched at the hem of his shirt. I had been truly panicked earlier and didn't want to be alone at all. He chuckled softly, picked up his phone, and I dialed a number. Immediately after, his pants pocket vibrated with a ring. He held up the screen for me to see. See? I won't turn it off. Call me right away if anything happens. Give me 5 minutes. I nodded lightly. He was very punctual. When he came back with a bag, I checked the call duration. Exactly 5 minutes and 20 seconds. He handed me the bag, his face slightly embarrassed. I blushed. I hadn't said anything about my period, yet in the bag were several packs of sanitary pads. Thank you. My foot felt tender. A cold hand grasped my ankle. Before I could react, a sharp pain shot through me. Oh! Don't move. I need to disinfect it first. But it hurts so much. At that moment, Jackson knelt on one knee in front of me and suddenly chuckled. Just now, an uncle asked me if I'd seen a young girl who was lost. He asked a few questions, and then she got scared and ran off. What? My face burned with embarrassment. So, I had been mistaken. The supermarket you were looking for is actually right at the beginning of the road you just ran down. Just turn a bit, and you'll see it. I knew he was trying to distract me, but my foot truly didn't hurt as much anymore. What are you doing here? I finally asked what had been on my mind. The school where I teach is not far from here, about an hour's drive. I came here to buy some school supplies for the kids. A small flame ignited in my heart again. I hesitated for a moment. Can I go with you to visit the kids there? His fingers paused while he was bandaging my ankle. He looked up, his eyes deep, a little surprised, then nodded. Sure, but the conditions there aren't as good as here. I nodded gently. Neither of us said anything more. After 2 minutes of silence, we both spoke at the same time, I'm sorry, and thank you. The air seemed to hold its breath. I immediately understood his meaning. Even though no one mentioned what happened in Harmony Creek, it didn't mean it hadn't happened. I smiled, a smile both bitter and relieved. Everything was in the past. Oh, he was about to say something, but my phone rang, cutting him off. Ethan, I'm fine, don't worry. Yes, I'm coming back now. No need, don't come pick me up. Bye-bye. I hung up. I saw the other person's eyes darken slightly, his Adam's apple bob. The words he was about to say were swallowed. I'll take you back. No need, I can walk. Indeed, I could walk, but each step brought a sharp pain. I went up step by step. A sigh echoed behind me, and my shoulder suddenly felt heavy, with a long jacket draped over my ankle. Don't force it. I let out a soft cry, and he lifted me again. My heart pounded as if it wanted to leap from my chest. It wasn't until I was back in my room, lying on my bed, that I had time to reflect on everything that had happened tonight. Why, even after clearly letting go, was I still so moved by him? The road trip group wouldn't be back for another 2 days. Before they returned, I decided to take a bus to the town where Jackson was teaching, only 40 miles away. Yet, the living conditions in the two places were worlds apart. I arrived in Hope Valley one bright, sunny morning. Jackson was squatting on the ground, one arm around a small child, smiling brightly and saying something. A little girl in a pink padded jacket was the first to spot me. Pretty lady. The three of them turned their heads. In a world where I had seen too much deceit and ugliness, their eyes at that moment were as pure as the mountains and springs. Years later, I would often remember the mottled four-room house with the shadow of trees behind them, the crisp laughter of children echoing in the air that day, and Jackson, who at that time possessed the pure heart of a child. After returning from Tibet, I started encountering Jackson more frequently. It was hard to say whether it was fate or irony that throughout my 4 years of college, the person I had secretly loved was in the same city as me. Because of the lingering unresolved issues from the past, I always declined his invitations. But gradually, our circles of friends began to overlap. It became unavoidable for me to hear news or participate in activities related to him. 2 weeks later, at Leo's birthday party, I saw Jackson for the 3rd time since the road trip. When I arrived, everyone had already had quite a bit to drink. He was a little unsteady, walking towards me, tall and straight, his voice carrying a hint of vague resentment. Why are you avoiding me? I was taken aback, quickly denying it. I'm not. If you say you're not, then you're not. He relaxed his brows, returning to his usual calm demeanor. The donation to Hope Valley Elementary School, that was from you, right? On behalf of the kids, thank you. It was just a few reference books for the kids. I promised, I couldn't go back on my word. Still, thank you. He raised his wine glass, leaning against the railing, his eyes hazy with alcohol, reflecting a certain undisguised recklessness. I had only ever seen that look in his eyes when he looked at Willow Hayes. I thought about it and then blurted out, "How are things with you and Willow Hayes?" He clearly stiffened as if recalling something. "After you left, she transferred schools not long after. We haven't been in touch since. Back in school, I was pretty awful. I'm sorry." "Not awful, just didn't like me. Nothing wrong with that." "Serena Sterling, I..." The noise in the room suddenly intensified. His overly ambiguous words were buried amidst the laughter and chatter of the crowd. Then, we were both pulled into a game. Leo's friends were all free-spirited, and the atmosphere quickly became lively. In the group, there was a girl studying art, with a lively personality. I noticed several boys were interested in her. After she used the restroom, she sat right next to Jackson. Everyone looked at each other and began to play matchmaker. Drink, spin the bottle. The girl, shy yet bold, raised her glass and stared at him unblinkingly. "This is a girl who knows what she wants, right, Jackson?" Jackson only smiled. "Sorry, I'll take a 3-drink penalty." I looked up at him. Even though he was smiling, his eyes were cold and unamused. The crowd groaned in disappointment, but the girl wasn't angry. She changed the subject. "Do you have someone you like?" "Yeah." She swept her gaze around the room, then suddenly looked directly at me, as if challenging me. "I really admire you, Serena. Last time at the Golden Feather Design Competition, your canary painting was absolutely beautiful. This drink is for you." If I remembered correctly, my painting only won 3rd place, and she was the one who took first. The sarcasm was clear to everyone. A few people who didn't know the full story chimed in. "She's really good. I heard the Golden Feather Award is very prestigious in the industry. 3rd place is already super impressive." I just smiled faintly, not refuting, nor accepting the drink. At that moment, Jackson suddenly spoke. "I remember you didn't study art." I was surprised. How did he know? "No, I don't study art. Oil painting is just a hobby." That day, I had a painting ready, so I just submitted it for the competition. My voice was neither loud nor soft, just loud enough for everyone to hear. Those who understood just smiled without saying anything. The perfect smile on Lisa's face finally cracked, turning pale then flushed. I didn't bother to linger, said happy birthday to Leo, and left. The night wind cooled the heat on my cheeks. Actually, I wasn't leaving because I was provoked, but because of Jackson's protection. His words on the balcony echoed in my mind. "Serena Sterling, I've thought about you often these past few years." Lisa asked if he had someone he liked. He answered, "Yeah." The taxi arrived quickly. Just as the car door was about to close, a slender hand stopped it. Jackson tilted his head. "Riding together?" Before I could answer, he casually got in. The spacious car suddenly felt cramped. I glanced at him, seeing him leaning back in the seat, eyes half closed, his thick lashes obscuring his usual distant gaze, his aura much softer. "Drunk?" I asked. "Maybe a little. Someone seems to have forgotten our schools aren't on the same route." He still had his eyes closed, a lazy smile curving his lips. "Didn't forget. I feel something blossoming inside, sweet and soft." Jackson was truly drunk. He fell asleep the entire way. At the school gate, I woke him up. "We're here. You're heading back to the dorm, right?" He shook his head, looking disoriented. I had no choice but to book him a room nearby. As I was helping him into the elevator, I ran into a friend from my department. I forced a smile and greeted her. She paused for a moment, then unabashedly scrutinized him from head to toe, mouthing, "Nice body, huh?" I suddenly felt glad he wasn't awake yet.
Tuyệt vời! Đây là một câu chuyện được viết lại theo phong cách, bối cảnh và nhân vật Mỹ, dựa trên bản gốc của bản. Tôi đã cố gắng giữ lại cảm xúc, các sự kiện chính và thêm vào một số chi tiết để phù hợp với bối cảnh phương Tây.
Just as I was about to leave, a strong hand gripped my wrist. "Where are you going?" "Back to my dorm." Aha, my head's spinning. Let go, will you? Serena Sterling, he seemed about to say something, his eyes glistening with a hint of alcohol that softened my resolve. I stopped struggling. Did you used to like me? Though his voice held no arrogance, I stiffened instinctively, my own voice surprisingly cold. What do you mean? He recoiled slightly, releasing my wrist, shaking his head gently. I just wanted to ask, he began, his voice dropping. What about now? Do you still like me? I didn't want to answer. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Thump. The door slammed shut unexpectedly. He pinned me against it in an undeniably intimate pose. Jackson Riley, you're faking being drunk. He suddenly chuckled, his clear eyes at such close proximity making me recall our first meeting. The boy who jumped from the wall had the same innocent gaze, so pure it was hard to look away. What are you thinking about? Answer me. You're truly a rogue, and a bossy one at that, I couldn't help but retort. I liked you back then, but it's been 5 long years. If you hadn't brought it up, I would have completely forgotten. His eyes immediately darkened. He asked softly, so, what about now? I didn't want to shatter the last glimmer of hope in his eyes, but I couldn't utter the word only remaining silent. HMPH. A self-deprecating laugh escaped him. You're right. No one can force you to stay in the same place and wait for me. Jackson's red-rimmed eyes stared at me, as if searching for a clue, before finally giving up. My shoulder suddenly felt heavy as his warm head rested on the hollow of my neck, his voice husky, as if pulled from the depths of his heart. But why? For 5 years, you practically forgot who I was, while I kept remembering you, like a vine growing wildly in my heart, twisting and tightening for years. Why? You were clearly the one who liked me first. His voice, a mixture of self-pity, reluctance, and fervent longing, fell heavily into my heart. Back at school, my mind was still hazy. It seemed I had agreed to let Jackson pursue me again. There's no why in this world, I said. I pursued you for 3 years, and you didn't even turn your head to look at me. He said, then let me pursue you for 3 years, or even 5 years, it's fine. I retorted, back then, you saw me as a backup plan, loving someone else to death and back. He was silent for a moment before saying, before you liked me, I had no right to interfere with your relationships. I was stubborn. My family is super rich. My dad doesn't like poor guys. Jackson replied, I'm not that poor. I can work hard to be rich. Well, then, is that a yes? I agreed to let him pursue me. Before he could react, I quickly pushed him away, closed the door, and leaned against it, grinning uncontrollably. I was truly crazy, but it was too sweet to resist. With graduation looming, Jackson rented an apartment near my university. He said, water flows closest to its source, doesn't it? I replied, but I'm moving out of the dorm soon. Not yet, and I can even help you move your stuff. The advantage of being close is truly undeniable. Jackson appeared by my side more and more frequently, to the point where the security guard automatically assumed he was a student at my school. Even the dorm manager knew him. He was handsome and polite. Every morning, he'd bring breakfast and wait for me downstairs. He'd chat with the older ladies, who would take turns praising me for having such a capable and mature boyfriend. Sometimes, he'd join me for meals in the cafeteria. He didn't have a meal card, so I was always the one swiping mine. One day, I overheard someone bad-mouthing him. He's so big, yet he's freeloading off a girl. Such a gold digger. I flinched, glancing over to see that Jackson had heard too, but he wasn't angry. He calmly scooped his rice and said, can't help it when you're broke. I knew his family wasn't doing badly. His parents worked for the government. They couldn't compare to my family, but they were quite well off. He had started his own business in his second year of college, and his company was in the city center, far from where I was. These days, he was juggling school and running his company, incredibly busy. Some people warned me to be careful, saying he was only getting close to me because I had money. When I heard that, my first thought was, if I can help him, that's good too. But in reality, he never brought up work. Our conversations mostly revolved around what to eat, what to do, and when I would agree to be his girlfriend. Once, we went to the movies, and he fell asleep on my shoulder for half the film. I didn't have the heart to wake him. When he woke up and saw me frowning, he immediately looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep." I sighed. "I invited you to the movies today. You drove for over an hour to get here. You must be exhausted. If you're tired, you can decline. You don't have to push yourself so hard." He misunderstood, sitting up straight and quickly saying, "I was really happy to go with you. I don't know why I fell asleep." I didn't say anything, my heart aching a little. "Are you mad?" I shook my head, my voice gentle. "Jackson Riley, ask me that question again from this morning." He pondered for a moment, his eyes lighting up. "Miss Sterling, are you willing to be my girlfriend today?" "Yes." My answer was too quick, too decisive. He widened his eyes in disbelief, then burst out laughing. "Really? More real than real gold." We both sat there laughing like two idiots for 2 minutes, until the cleaning lady subtly hinted we should leave, and we finally felt embarrassed. Walking hand in hand down the street, he asked, "Why today?" I clearly just messed up. "Because when I'm your girlfriend, I can officially support you and keep you from working so hard," I said, half jokingly, half seriously. But in his eyes, it was a joke. He didn't refute it, just smiled indulgently. "Let's move tomorrow night. Find a place closer to my company." My playful tone amused him, his eyes curving into crescent moons. I couldn't help but feel my heart pound, and I quickened my pace. Our two shadows stretched long in the gentle twilight. "It's really hot, isn't it?" He chuckled softly, leaning closer, his eyes burning with a fire. "Then let me help you cool down." I was stunned, my face flushing as if on fire, but in the end, he just reached out and turned on the electric fan, aiming it at me, then gently pinched my nose and walked away with a laugh, as if nothing had happened. Our relationship deepened. When he was busy, I would instinctively not disturb him. When I was tired, he would immediately appear by my side. We weren't living together yet, but we each had a key to the other's place, a silent way of saying, "I'm here anytime." But it was precisely that gentleness and patience that began to make me uneasy. I was a girl, and I loved him, so why did I always have to wait for him to make the first move? I once thought, perhaps it was because he didn't love me deeply enough, so I wanted proof, something to confirm his love for me. I started racking my brain for actions, glances, words, but it still wasn't enough. Just then, the Chinese Valentine's Day arrived. I left work on time, rushing home with an indescribable anticipation. But the room was unusually quiet. No flowers, no candles, no person. Only a newly delivered package sat in the corner of the room, the delicate slip dress I had tried on before. The material was thin as bone. Just looking at it made my face flush and my heart pound. I picked up my phone, unable to resist calling Jackson. What's up, my love?" His voice was still gentle, his seductive intonation as charming as ever. My heart softened, all my grievances dissolving in his voice. "Nothing. Are you busy?" He chuckled softly, then changed his tone to a serious one. "I still have to meet with a partner, preparing documents." "Okay, I'll hang up then." I had barely hung up when he called back. "Serena, there's an important file on my bedside table. Can you bring it to me? I need it urgently." "Okay. I'll take a taxi over right away. I'll text you the address." "Thanks, baby." I hurriedly called a cab, arriving in just 15 minutes. "Are you Miss Sterling?" "Yes, this way. Please." The door opened, and soft lights illuminated the smiling face of a man sitting at a dining table. Jackson, in a crisp suit, his eyes bright as he looked at me. There were fresh flowers, wine, and candles. I stood rooted to the spot, my heart thumping as if someone had struck it hard. Everything I had hoped for was here, but the person who brought it made me want to cry. "Didn't you say you were busy?" "Serena Sterling, you're really silly, aren't you?" He ruffled my hair, sighed, and said, "Sit down and eat first." I obediently sat down, eating and trying to figure out where I was silly. In the middle of our meal, he said, "My company recently got some big projects." I quickly said, "That's great. Congratulations." He looked at me without speaking, then slowly continued, "So, I'll be busy for a while." I lowered my gaze slightly. I knew building a career wasn't easy. I used to wake up at night and see him smoking on the balcony, his back looking so lonely it hurt my heart. I'd heard him on calls, laughing politely, navigating business deals. I thought after I helped him through his financial crisis last time, he could rest a bit. But it seemed he had to continue. I should have said it sooner. "You don't have to work so hard. I have enough money, enough to take care of you. What are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking I want to support you." The words slipped out, startling me, and I quickly corrected myself. "I mean, you don't have to push yourself so hard. Your health is the most important thing." Jackson raised an eyebrow. "Health? Don't worry, your boyfriend is still very healthy." His eyes were both playful and deep. I immediately remembered the slip dress and blushed. He suddenly lifted my face, his deep eyes looking directly into mine, his low voice carrying warmth. "I've noticed you blush easily." I retorted stubbornly, "It's just hot, that's all." "Yeah, I feel hot too." Stepping out of the bathroom, I bit my lip lightly, shyly pulling my slip dress down a little. This was the first time I had worn such a daring nightgown, and I felt a little embarrassed. Jackson looked up from his laptop, a sentence caught in his throat. "You." His burning gaze almost incinerated my soul. If I was going to do it, I'd go all the way. I resolutely sat on his lap, wrapped my arms around his neck, and rested my head on his chest, calmly embracing the warmth from his body. His husky voice whispered in my ear, "Do you know what you're doing?" "Yes, I'm seducing you." He was about to say something else, but I gritted my teeth and impulsively kissed his cool lips. Before I could think about the next step, I suddenly heard a sigh. "Serena, your brother is here to see me." "My brother? He doesn't seem to approve of us being together." I quickly tried to pull away from his embrace to confront my brother, but my waist was tightened, and my whole body was immediately held in place. "Let me go." "Serena." I looked up, unexpectedly meeting his deep eyes, filled with an emotion I couldn't decipher. A surge of unease rose within me, and I quickly avoided his gaze. He was silent for a moment, then let out a self-deprecating laugh. "Your brother is right. I'm not good enough for you." "That's not it. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have known how talented you are at the piano. Serena, you were born to be on stage, you shouldn't stop here." "I do like piano, but that doesn't mean I have to become a world-renowned artist. I just want to live a normal life, is that so wrong?" My voice was loud, sounding strong, but I admitted I was lying. Becoming a world-class pianist had been my childhood dream. If it weren't for you, I'd be studying abroad in England now, not busy with your silly company matters. I rarely saw Jackson like this, filled with regret and sadness. He was supposed to be confident and brilliant. That moment made me waver. Had I been wrong? He shouldn't have to bear such immense pressure. The next day, I still went to find my brother. It was rare for him to be so firm. He only said one thing: break up with Jackson and go study abroad in England. "Little sister, we've indulged your every wish since you were little, but this time, you have to listen to me. You've indulged me since I was little, yet you forbade me from participating in school activities, and stopped me from hanging out with friends. Later, when my health improved, I asked to volunteer to teach. Didn't you and Dad stop me?" "Serena, saying that breaks our hearts, but I still hope you see clearly. Is Jackson Riley worth giving up your dream for? Do you really think he didn't pay attention to you in high school? And then, after meeting again, it was love at first sight." Those hurtful words made me unable to contain my anger. This was the first major argument I'd had with my brother since becoming an adult. As I pushed the door open and walked out, my mind gradually cooled. But his words kept echoing in my head, unsettling me. My steps quickened. I wanted to see Jackson immediately, to prove that it was all just me overthinking. That day was a Saturday. Jackson's apartment was empty. I called him, but it just kept ringing busy. The room was deserted, the curtains undrawn, the lights off. My unease seemed amplified by the silent darkness. I sat on the cream-colored sofa, calling every 2 minutes, always met with a busy signal. I don't know how long it was, but I eventually dozed off. I dreamed of him gently carrying me to bed, kissing my forehead, then sitting beside me, watching me for a long time, his eyes seemingly swirling with myriad emotions. I tried to struggle awake, but my eyelids were heavy. My body also felt weighed down, unable to move. I could only watch helplessly as Jackson left, hearing the door open, then close, and my heart sinking with it. I woke up at 2 a.m., lying on his bed, and he was sleeping restlessly beside me, frowning. Although my mind was filled with 100 doubts, I couldn't bring myself to wake him. The dream earlier had been too real, unsettling me. Now that I was awake, it would probably be hard to fall back asleep. I sat up, and just then, his phone on the nightstand lit up. A seed of curiosity sprouted in my heart. Who would text him at this hour? Why was his phone always busy when I called? The phone screen was still lit. I couldn't help but glance at the sender, whose initials were WX. Willow Hayes. A name flashed in my mind. That gentle, fragile girl was the one who had completely captivated Jackson's youth, the one who had once driven me insane with jealousy. I tried to suppress my unease, but in the end, I didn't open the message. I just thought, I'll wait until morning for him to explain. That night was long. Finally, the alarm rang. I pretended to just wake up and greeted him with a good morning. Good morning. I was waiting for him to speak, waiting for an explanation. But throughout breakfast, he said nothing about last night. I couldn't take it anymore. Don't you have anything to tell me? He paused, clearing the dishes, and said softly, I might have to go on a business trip in the next few days. I'll leave tonight. My heart felt like a hole had been carved out, cold wind sweeping through. Can't you just tell me clearly what's going on? I was too angry to even open my mouth. I noisily tidied the things in the room, stubbornly demanding an explanation. Is it true that if the ex cries, the current one always loses? I don't know how to cook, but for some reason, I just wanted to busy my hands to ease my anger. The potatoes rolled around on the cutting board as if mocking me. Ouch! Just as I suspected, my index finger was cut. Blood gushed out because I had used the knife too forcefully. I held back tears, looking at Jackson, quickly fumbling for the first aid kit, frowning tightly. He applied medicine and bandaged my finger, his movements so gentle that I didn't feel any pain. He held my hand and asked softly, "Does it hurt?" The suppressed emotions within me burst forth, tears streaming down my face. I sobbed uncontrollably, as if wanting to release all the grievances from yesterday and today, without missing a single drop. Jackson had never seen me cry before. At this moment, he was as flustered as a child. I'm sorry, don't cry anymore." It took a long time for me to stop sobbing, and then I began to choke out my accusations. "Aren't you going on a business trip? Why are you still worrying about me? Jackson Riley, you're a jerk. Yesterday, I called you so many times. What right do you have not to say a word, not to explain anything? You want to break up, don't you? Just tell me, just say it directly, and I won't hold you back." The room fell silent. Jackson looked at me, his eyes red, his throat choked, wanting to speak but unable to open his mouth. "I'm sorry." I almost screamed. What good is sorry? Tell me. Say you want to break up. In the end, he still couldn't say those 2 words. All the pent-up frustration in my heart exploded, turning into a fierce kiss, grinding his lips as if wanting to devour everything. When our lips separated, the world seemed to fall silent, leaving only the person in front of me and his eyes brimming with emotion. I burst out laughing. "Admit it, you love me, you can't bear to say the words break up. Let me guess, is it because my brother forced you?" He was silent for a long time, finally speaking. "I don't want to hold you back. I don't want you to give up your dream because of me. Are you sure I'm giving up my dream because of you?" I saw your performance video. Your eyes don't lie. You were born to shine in your own world, so I chose to be silent, to be distant, to force you to break up." Jackson's face showed a hint of awkwardness. He hadn't intended to be cold, he just didn't know how to face me. Once again, I saw self-doubt and loneliness on his face, things that shouldn't belong to him. I sighed, calmly saying, "All right, if you think that's what's best for me, then I accept." The moment I stepped onto the plane, I looked back at that land as if looking back at our entire youth, a secret love, a reunion, passion, and then letting go. Amidst the roar of the engines taking off, I thought, this chapter of our story is finally closing. I didn't ask him to see me off. I didn't even know if he came. I didn't even ask him about WX. But I believed that after 2 years apart, we would each flourish in our own worlds. Who knows, maybe one day we'll meet again, he unmarried, I unwed, and we'll meet at our highest peaks. Starting a relationship of equals. I once thought I was the protagonist of the story. The story began in a typical way, a protagonist with a difficult background, a troubled fate. My family, fleeing debt, drifted to this unfamiliar town. Initially, people at Northwood High weren't friendly to me because no one liked a quiet, timid transfer student. And then, Jackson appeared, as if the director had planned it all along. In a dark, long alley, that gentle, academically brilliant boy helped me when I was bullied, like a salvation beginning right there. Everyone loves a hero saving a damsel in distress story. When someone asked if I was truly involved with Jackson, I said nothing. But that very silence was like an affirmation. See, that's how rumors are. I said nothing, yet it was as if I had said everything. After that, I lived as if I were inside a large bubble, both brilliant and fragile. I feared that one day the male lead in this story would pop it. But he didn't. Time passed, and even I began to doubt whether that shining boy truly liked me. The turning point of the story came on a scorching hot afternoon when I argued with my family and ran off to the abandoned government building to vent my anger. Unexpectedly, Jackson was there too. He was such a good, pure boy. He was so tense he thought I was going to jump. On my still tear-stained face was sorrow and despair. I sat huddled at the edge of the rooftop, desperately battling with his kindness. When he rigidly lifted me down, I buried my head in his shoulder and sobbed uncontrollably, telling him about my father who abandoned me, my gambling-addicted brother, and the endless debts. I still remember Jackson's eyes at that time. They were filled with pure pity and sincerity. From then on, I began to wonder if his feelings for me were the passionate love of youth or simply pity. But at least I had him, right? I thought everything would progress as in the novels I used to dream of, the gentle, brilliant scholar and the struggling student, overcoming all difficulties together, finally achieving a happy ending. Until Serena Sterling appeared. In any youth novel, there's always a beautiful, evil supporting character, from a good background, arrogant, always hindering the main couple's love, and then finally quietly retreating from the stage. Serena Sterling appeared in my story in exactly that role. She was beautiful, dazzling, with a gentle aura. The second day after she transferred to Northwood High, the title of Campus Queen changed hands. She liked Jackson. I knew that clearly from our second meeting. At that time, I had only recently confirmed my relationship with Jackson. My deskmate encouraged me to bring him water on the basketball court. The entire court noticed me. I loved that feeling. If Serena Sterling hadn't appeared, perhaps I would have been immersed in that feeling for much longer. That girl, wearing headphones, walked past the basketball court. Her simple white uniform and high ponytail made everyone turn their heads. She could have walked straight, but her eyes briefly glanced our way, that kind of glance. I was all too familiar with it. I had to admit, she and Jackson were a perfect match. Smart, well-liked, exceptionally talented. Still, I didn't feel threatened. Not because I was confident, but because Jackson was genuinely good to me. It wasn't until an English debate competition that I truly felt uneasy. He rarely paid attention to anyone, yet that day he mentioned Serena Sterling 3 times, even though he didn't even know her name then. After that, at Leo's birthday party, Serena Sterling also showed up. I clearly felt that Jackson was different that day, as if he was flustered. My female intuition told me Serena Sterling was the reason, but I was helpless. I could only watch the boy I had worked so hard to get slowly fall for someone else. Perhaps he didn't even realize it himself. He started paying attention to her, wanting to know everything about her. At the end of 11th grade, we had a fierce argument. Actually, I was just creating a scene by myself. Even though I knew doing so would push him away, I couldn't help myself. I said break up. Perhaps he still loved me then, but the inferiority complex in my heart kept forcing me to test him again and again. On the New Year's performance night, I intentionally called him away midway through. The dance performance that Serena Sterling had painstakingly prepared surely wouldn't catch the eye of the person she liked. She must have been so sad. Just like that, my gains and losses and torments shattered that relationship. When he no longer waited for me downstairs at the dorm, I started to panic. The first time I confronted Serena Sterling was when I went to find her, aggressively warning her. In reality, just a few meaningless words had taken all my courage. She just stood there coldly, frowning, not saying a word. I would have preferred her to be like the evil supporting characters in stories, slapping me or mocking me, but no, she was like her name, pure and proud. That drove me crazy with jealousy. Yes, the rumors that she was seducing Jackson, bullying others with her influence, were all started by me. But wasn't it the truth? If it weren't for her, I would forever be the protagonist. Finally, she left, but nothing could go back to the way it was. Northwood High will forever remember a girl who once made their youth shine. And my romantic dream shattered with it. The next time I saw Jackson was at a party I attended with an investor. Mr. Harrison introduced me as his girlfriend with great respect, and everyone just smiled politely. Jackson seemed a little surprised to see me, but that was it. I didn't know what to think. When everyone started getting drunk, I followed him into the restroom, asking the question that had plagued me for a long time. Did you really like me back then? He nodded, confirming it. I cried silently in front of him again. This time, he just stood there coldly, pushing my hand away. Please have some self-respect. I have a girlfriend. Is it Serena Sterling? I asked instinctively. It turned out I was right. They ended up together after all. When I truly knew that, I felt much more relieved. My youth, at that moment, officially ended. Later, Jackson sought me out to connect with Mr. Harrison for a business matter. I was surprised. He seemed tired, as if carrying some kind of pressure. And I felt happy. It turned out even a brilliant scholar like him wasn't invincible. Still involved with an ex. Aren't you afraid your girlfriend will get mad? I probed. He frowned, flicked his cigarette ash, and sighed softly. No, not at all. So, I intentionally texted him in the middle of the night. Putting my phone down, I chuckled. In the end, I was just an evil supporting character in someone else's story. That message could no longer be unsent.